Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts, in the shadow of the Great Blue Hill. We are so delighted and so very, very honored that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Our guest today is returning to the show. Her name is Leticia Ordaz. She is here to celebrate the Carousel King and the Space Mission. Before we invite Leticia into the studio, we want to invite you to connect with us on social media. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, at Jedley Magic on Twitter. Be sure to check out our Pinterest page. And believe it or not, we'll be on TikTok soon. As soon as I figure out what we're going to do on TikTok, we'll be there. And also, you can go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can sign up for our free newsletter. You can also click on the contact button to send us a message. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we could do better. And let us know who you would like to hear on the podcast. And also, if you have time, please be sure to leave a 5-star review on whatever podcasting app you download the program from. And we would be delighted and so grateful if you could let your family and friends know all about the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Join us right now from Sacramento in California. We're so excited to welcome our guest back. She's a brand new picture book. It's called The Carousel King and the Space Mission. It's a bilingual STEM and STEAM book. Please welcome back to the show our friend, the author, Leticia Ordaz. Hey, Leticia, how are you?
Jed, so great to be here for the second time. What an honor. Thank you for having me today.
I'm really excited to have you on. Let's jump right into it. What's the Carousel King and the Space Mission all about?
Yes, it's about overcoming fears. It's about achieving what some people think is the unthinkable. In this book, The Carousel King and the Space Mission, this little boy, Maxton, who actually happens to be my son — I love putting my own children as characters in a book — he is terrified of the carousel. So it all starts with him being afraid of something and then figuring out that he actually can ride and conquer his fears of carousels. And once he does that, he says, why stop there? I actually want to build my own carousels, and not just on planet Earth. I want to build them in space. So it talks about a message of children being able to achieve whatever they want and no limitations, for parents not to tell them it's not possible to do something like that. So that is the main message behind the book. You can do what you set your mind to, and we're hoping that children will be given the opportunity to imagine, because we tell them that they can't do something when in reality, you never know what can happen in the future.
Yeah. This is an important message for you to get to kids. I know your book, That Girl on TV Could Be Me. I hope I'm getting the title right. So you're really committed to helping kids understand that there are no limits in their lives. Where does that drive to get that message out there come from?
Well, it all started when I was little and not seeing myself in picture books, and then thinking that there was limitations, and then becoming a mother and realizing that there were still not books representing children who look like my children, black and brown children. So I wanted to create this because I always want children to know that they can achieve. Going into schools as my job as a journalist, I do a lot of career days, and I talk to a lot of children in high school, middle school, college, and a lot of them have the same message where counselors are telling them when they share their dreams that they shouldn't do that. That's not feasible for them because of where they come from. And in fact, that happened to me when I was in high school and a straight A student. My high school counselor told me that I didn't have what it takes to go to a 4-year college because I was the first in my family to be doing so. So she didn't think I would succeed. And she encouraged me to go to a junior college. Nothing is wrong with going to a junior college. I think it's a fabulous avenue if that's what you want. But if a child is telling you that they want to go to a 4-year college and they have the grades for it, who are you to tell them that they can't? So talking to some of these students, I remember one young man at Sacramento State telling me that he wanted to be a mechanical engineer. He wants to build stuff for space. But his high school counselor told him, can't you just be a car mechanic? That's more feasible for someone like you. So that just really angers me and drives me to prove the naysayers wrong. And I think it's very important to send our children the message that they have what it takes to achieve whatever they want and to not listen to those naysayers.
You know, as you were talking, especially about your own personal story, and that teacher saying to you, you got the grades, but boy, you don't have anybody in your family that's gone to college. Why don't you go to JUCO first? And that's the lane you should be in. Instead of what would have been my instinct, which would be let's figure out a way to get Leticia the support she needs to make it in that 4-year school. I mean, I don't know where that counselor's head was at.
Well, I hope she sees what I'm doing now. I graduated from a 4-year university with honors. So yes, I just hope that my story and the books that I write will just give families a positive message. I'm all about breaking stereotypes because when I first got into the publishing industry and I wanted to be published by a major publisher, what I heard from a lot of the publishers was like, we love your book, but does it have to be bilingual? We don't believe Latinos read. And I'm like, what? What are you saying? Latinos don't read? Yes, they do. And so I feel like oftentimes our community is undermined and we have to break those stereotypes one book at a time. Our children are embracing the books that I'm publishing. The families are adoring their books and they're reading to their kids. Kids are falling in love with reading. Time and time again, I'm getting messages from families who are saying, my kid sleeps with your book. They love your book. They want to read it every single day. So families are embracing my books because they're seeing themselves in my books. And they're not just for Latinos because my books, each page is English and Spanish. So a lot of families are saying, hey, I'm learning Spanish. My kids are picking up some words. You know, it's cool to speak another language. It's great to see our neighbors in books in a positive light because all of my books that I write are encouraging, uplifting, showing kids doing happy things, not the struggle that may exist in everyday life. I mean, they all offer inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so important. I'm just going to say it, what an ignorant thing to say that Latinos don't read books. You know, I've traveled to a number of Latin American countries, and everywhere I go, there are bookstores. And there are kids' books, and they're beautiful. And some of them, the books that were published here that were translated. So shame on that person who made that comment.
Yes. You know what is an issue is access. A lot of families, obviously, if they're low income, they can't go out and buy an $18 book. So that's where our libraries and the efforts that, you know, I help in the community where we team up with organizations that can fund books for the community, where we have these literacy events in cities like Elk Grove and Galt, where businesses team up to buy books at cost. And we're able to have an event where children can take a book home because in some cases, some children have never owned a book. They don't have their own libraries. It's not that their families don't want to have these libraries. They just have an issue with access. Mm-hmm. So I think it's key that we continue to reach the communities and go to where these families are and reach them with these books.
Yeah. You know, you bring up a really good point. I have my now adult kids are at the point where they're looking to maybe buy or rent homes. And I don't know what it's like in Sacramento, but here in the Boston area, in New York, it's like young people are expected to come up with this really outrageous amount of money on top of paying off their student debt. And so, yeah, you know, a family that's out there and, you know, they have kids and they're working class family and they're working 2 or 3 jobs and 50%, 60% of their paycheck has to go to pay for rent for them to live. And then they need to find the money. It's really hard to come up with $20 for a children's book.
It really is. And I think it's the job of librarians to be looking for these diverse books. And I know that there is a mission of a lot of librarians who are looking to find books that represent the entire community, where if a brown child or a black child or an Asian child walks into a library, they can instantly connect with a book of someone who looks like them. It is so powerful when I read to kids during these assemblies on Zoom, where little kids will raise their hand in the end and be in tears and say, that little kid looked like me. Maxton and Bronx look like me. They speak my family's language. It is just so powerful for them. And it just makes them feel validated. It makes them feel like they matter. And for the other class who may not be Latino, the kids really enjoy the stories and they embrace the culture of their classmates. It's just a beautiful thing all the way around. And I'm so privileged and happy to be able to do this.
Yeah, yeah. You know, not being a black or brown person myself, I've obviously seen myself in, well, not an old bald man, but when I was a kid, I saw kids who looked like me in the pages of books. But one of the things I really loved about books was seeing different kids and getting to know kids from different cultures, whether it was through books or through television or movies. That's what I searched out, listening to different styles of music from different parts of the world. A lot of people thought I was weird because I was listening to reggae or music from South Africa or Asia, and I loved it. And I think that that's something that we obviously celebrate books being mirrors, but I also love the fact that books can be windows and giving the majority population a chance to see their neighbors and to see that they're just like us. They might eat different food and listen to different music, but they're human beings. They love, they cry, they want to be friends. They want to have connections with each other and with us.
Absolutely. And so often children who don't come from diverse neighborhoods have to wait until they get to college to experience different backgrounds and cultures. So how beautiful would it be if, starting from a very young age when a child is 2, even 0, they're exposed to children of other cultures. We would learn to love our neighbors more and embrace other cultures. And I also think it's just vital to learn another language as well. I mean, other countries speak 4 or 5 languages. Mm-hmm. So why here in America are we only so focused on speaking one? I think we should also take the time, as a lot of families are doing, to want to pick up another language.
Yeah, yeah. This is also your first STEM and STEAM book. What was that? Was that a challenge for you?
It was so much fun. I've just been obsessed with the topic. I just love the idea of more Latinos and people of color getting into these careers because we are so underrepresented. I think it's 8% of people who graduate to actually join STEAM careers. So I thought, how amazing to just spark that in children so young to say, hey, I can be a mechanical engineer. I can build a rocket. I can take us on the first mission to Mars. To just imagine what can happen when children start believing and getting interested. And for girls to say, I want to build a rocket too. Why not? I want to lead that mission back to the moon.
Yeah.
And that's what I want children to see when they read my book. And, besides it being a really fun story, I have a lot of educational tips. And at the end of the book, it shares what motivated me to want to write this book, the author's note, fun facts about carousels, and also fun facts about the moon and Jupiter. So it's just a really educational resource. And besides the book, we're creating a 20-page curriculum for schools where kids are going to be able to take a lesson plan and build something of their own. At the end of the book, it says something about, now it's your turn. What will you create? And it really gives children a chance to imagine what they will be able to contribute to society, which is a lot. So the last page says, now it's your turn. What will you create once you overcome your fears? Yeah. And I think fear is holding a lot of people back, and we've got to break through those barriers.
Yeah, I love that. I have a question that I want to ask you about inspiring kids to dream. But before I do, I want to share with you a fun fact about a carousel that you may not be aware of.
Yes. What is it?
When I was 16 years old, I was the carousel operator at a little amusement park here in Massachusetts called Edaville Railroad.
How fun.
And it was. Well, it was fun at first, but then the calliope music every day for 8 hours. I'd go to sleep with it in my head. You talk about inspiring kids to think that I could do that. I can grow up and do that. I can build something. One of the things that I experienced in my doing educational magic shows, I was reading this study that said the kids that dream have dreams. They do better in school. They're happier. They are healthier. And when I read that, I thought, there are kids that don't dream, and so I did a little very unscientific experiment. And for like a week or so, and I'd be up in front of 400, 500, 600 kids, I would ask them, hey, how many of you guys have a dream? How many of you guys want to grow up and be this or that? Doesn't matter what it is, but just have a dream. Just put your hand up in the air. And I was really surprised that in most cases, only about 40% of the kids raised their hands. And, I've read some more that's something that wasn't an anomaly, that there are a lot of kids out there that don't have dreams, that aren't being encouraged to dream.
Maybe they do have dreams and maybe they're embarrassed to share them. Maybe they have dreams and they've been told it's not possible. So maybe they've already been shot down because when kids come up with these wild things of, like my son says, one day I want to build a carousel in Jupiter. And he helped me come up with the book and we worked on it together. And at first I said, honey, it's really not possible. It's a gas planet. He's like, I know, Mom. The point is, it's a fiction book. Let's put it out there because it will show kids that you can accomplish the unthinkable. Maybe someone's telling you can't right now, but maybe there will be a special suit developed. Or maybe we're wrong about what, Jupiter's all about. And one day you will really be able to land on Jupiter. We still have so much to learn. And I said, you know what? You're right. Who am I to tell you let's not pick Jupiter? Because I was like saying, let's pick Mars as the planet that a carousel's built on because maybe that's more feasible. He said, Mom, this is about dreaming big. You always tell kids to dream big. I know this is a fiction book, but let's go for it. So yeah, some people might say it's not possible to build a carousel in Jupiter, but that's the whole point of the book. Let's not tell kids what they can and can't do. Let's let them dream.
Yeah. And let's remember, if somebody had told me when I was in 8th grade, and you probably hadn't been born yet, that one day I'd be able to sit here in Boston and speak and see you on a little screen in my house, I would have told them that was impossible. It couldn't happen. But here it is, where it's happening now.
Yes. I mean, I was that shy girl in class who was terrified of reading out loud, as I talk about in my Girl on TV book. And now I am the broadcaster and anchor of a show that I do all by myself on the weekends. I speak for 2 hours, and I read stories to the public. So who would have thought that this little shy girl that everybody thought was too shy to get into broadcasting would be an Emmy nominated journalist? So it just goes to show that if you really have a passion for something, you shouldn't just give it up because one adult tells you you're not likely to succeed. I'm hoping that, adults aren't doing that, but we do see that it does happen often.
It does. And I think a lot of the parents, and I certainly heard when I was growing up, be more realistic, and that's, and you don't know what you don't know. And, and I think that a lot of that comes from a well-intentioned place. But I think, especially with our younger kids, they don't need to be slapped by reality right now. We need to encourage them to dream. I might have shared with you my niece, when we first took a walk together, when she came into our lives, when she was in the 8th grade, I said, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And she said, well, I want to be an engineer, a doctor, and a police officer. And I said, well, awesome. that sounds great. And right now she is planning on going to college next year, and she has some really amazing Ivy League schools that are inviting her to be joining their engineering program. So you can do anything.
That is fantastic. I know so often my children, they say, I want to have 5 careers. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to build a rocket. They have so many ideas. And who are we as parents to say you can only pick one? Because they have so much time to cultivate their interests, and maybe they can all be intertwined and they can work on something in engineering that's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I was telling him, like being an author is like, I'm not only an author, I'm also an anchor. I'm a literacy advocate. I do so much in the community. You don't have to just pick one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can be good at a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And you forgot your most important job.
A mother.
There you go. Speaking about,
yes, that is.
Speaking about being a mom, what do your kids think about seeing themselves, their actual selves on the pages of books?
It is so amazing for them, and they love it when I'm invited to read to their own school and their classmates get to hear them being characters in a book. It has really, changed them. They are just so fascinated at being characters in a book, and they want other children to see themselves in these books too. And even though they are the ones that are characters, they know that a lot of kids are connecting with them. And even though it's them in the book, kids, they hear them during my performances when I do these, reading events for schools for kids to say, that kid looks like me. And they just love it. They are amazed by the whole process. They are writing their own books. They're jotting notes down like, Mom, this is our next great idea. So it's really developed them to want to be authors as well, which I think is really cool.
That is really cool. Wow, this is really exciting. What's next? Do you have a new? I know that the Carousel King, it's just being released on St. Patrick's Day here, but you always seem to have a lot of things. You're spinning a lot of plates. Is there a new book that you're working on for the future?
I am. I'm very excited because I'm actually turning Mr. Macaw, The Adventures of Mr. Macaw, which was my first book, into a series. So right now I am wrapping up the writing for Mr. Macaw Part 2. And I'm super excited about this because it won 4 International Latino Awards and really got the interest of Hollywood. So I've had some directors contacting me and saying, we want more. We want more of Mr. Macaw. And they have come up with characters that they think can play the characters in my book, and they're letting me know that they are interested in possibly one day making this an animation. Wow. So we'll see what happens, but there's been a lot of interest, and I'm super excited to turn Mr. Macaw into a series.
That is really, really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very excited to continue to bring my stories out into the community and to be changing statistics. When I first got into the publishing world, there was only 5% Latinx people getting their books published in the U.S., and there was only 5% children of color who are Latinx seeing themselves in books. And as we are sending our books to the University of Wisconsin, they're the ones that keep these statistics together. I just found out like last week that the numbers have shifted a little bit. There's now almost 10% Latinx authors in the country being published. And there's 7% Latinx characters now featured in books in the U.S. So yes, we are making small strides, but we're going to continue to make a difference because it's so important for our children not only to see animals in books and things like that. They also need to see a reflection of themselves in the pages. And that's why I work so hard every day.
That's wonderful. Leticia, tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Carousel King and the Space Mission and find out more about what's going on in your world.
Definitely. So my website is Cielito Lindo Books. It means beautiful sky. So hopefully you can have the link because I know it might be hard for some people to spell, but Cielito Lindo Books. And you can find me easily on Instagram and Facebook under Leticia Ordaz TV. Leticia Ordaz TV. So I would love to connect with you, and you can hear more about my author journey and what's next on my website. And of course, my books are all available on Amazon. The Carousel King and the Space Mission will be out on lucky St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
Awesome. And of course, if you want to support your local bookstore, you can give them a call and say, hey, do you have the Carousel King? And if they say no, you can just say, could you get it, por favor? And it'll be there in a couple of days.
Definitely. And please request it at the library. And
yes.
My big thing is access. So I really want children to not have to pay for it. Just to be able to check it out would be just fine too. So yes, request it at your local library if it's not there already.
Absolutely. We've had a great time speaking with the author of The Carousel King and the Space Mission, Leticia Ordaz. Hey, Leticia, thanks so much for being back with us.
Dad, thank you for the great conversation. Thank you for all you're doing for kids.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Andrea Wang. She'll be here to celebrate watercress. You don't want to miss it. Hey, if you're the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to help you tell the world all about it. There's so many ways the Reading with Your Kids podcast can help you celebrate your book with the world. You can be a guest here on the podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, it doesn't cost you a thing, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic book. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page, and then scroll on down to be a guest. Oh, you can also learn how you can submit your book to our Certified Great Read panel. If they believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a Certified Great Read. And with that status comes a number of really powerful tools that can help your book stand out from the crowd of thousands of books that are published every single month. It is so difficult to stand out. There are literally thousands of books published every single month. And because of that, you also might want to check out our promotional packages. We can celebrate your book with commercials here on the podcast, messages to our 75,000 plus social media followers, and also have your book displayed on our nationwide network of digital pedestrian billboards. And now that live events are happening again, you can also have your book displayed at one of our live events. Go to readingwithyourkids.com, click on that click on that Authors Click Here button at the top of the page and scroll on down. You can also click on the contact button, send us a question, let us know how we can help you. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we want to start by thanking our guest, Leticia Ordaz. Please be sure to check out The Carousel King and the Space Mission. Also want to thank my team, Alejandro Doherty, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Skylar Strauss, Frank Guerrillos. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.